Master the art of Stoic emotional detachment. Command power. Part 3. The Stoic method of emotional detachment. The difference between knowing and becoming. By now, you understand something many people never fully realize. Attachment creates vulnerability. Dependency creates control. And control creates suffering. But awareness alone changes very little. Many people understand their problems. They know they overthink. They know they seek validation. They know they become emotionally attached too quickly. They know certain people manipulate them. Yet they remain trapped. Why? Because knowledge is not transformation. Practice is transformation. The Stoics did not merely discuss philosophy. They trained. Every day, every challenge became an exercise. Every disappointment became practice. Every insult became practice. Every setback became practice. They viewed life as a training ground for the mind, and if you want emotional detachment, you must adopt the same approach, because emotional freedom is not something you discover. It is something you build. One thought at a time. One reaction at a time. One decision at a time. The question is not, do I understand Stoicism? The question is, can I practice it when emotions become intense? That is where real power begins. The first Stoic exercise, the pause. Most emotional mistakes happen quickly. The message arrives. You react. The criticism appears. You react. The disappointment happens. You react. The rejection occurs. You react. The reaction feels automatic. But Stoicism teaches that between the event and the response, there is a space, a moment, tiny, almost invisible. Within that moment exists freedom. The first exercise of emotional detachment is learning to expand that space. Imagine receiving a message that angers you. Your instinct says, respond now. Defend yourself. Correct them. Fight back. Prove your point. The Stoic does something different. He pauses, not because he is weak, because he understands that emotions are temporary advisors. And temporary advisors should not make permanent decisions. A pause of 10 minutes can prevent 10 months of regret. A pause of 1 hour can prevent 1 year of conflict. A pause of 1 day can prevent a lifetime of consequences. The pause is where wisdom enters. And wisdom cannot enter a mind moving too quickly. While your emotions are lying to you, this may sound harsh, but many of your strongest emotions are unreliable. Not because emotions are bad, because emotions are incomplete. Fear often predicts disasters that never happen. Anger exaggerates threats. Jealousy invents stories. Anxiety creates futures that do not exist. In emotional moments, the mind becomes a poor witness. Imagine looking into a lake during a storm. Can you see clearly? No. The water is disturbed, distorted, chaotic. The mind behaves the same way. Strong emotions create psychological turbulence. The Stoics understood this. That is why they never trusted their first emotional interpretation. Instead, they asked questions. Is this actually true? What evidence supports this belief? Am I reacting to reality? Or my imagination? This habit alone can transform a life, because most suffering begins with unquestioned assumptions. The mind creates a story, then believes it, then suffers from it. Detachment begins when you stop automatically believing every emotional narrative. The Stoic power of observation. One of the most overlooked Stoic skills is observation. Most people become their emotions. The Stoic observes them. Notice the difference. Most people say, I am angry. The Stoic says, anger is present. Most people say, I am anxious. The Stoic says, anxiety is present. This subtle shift changes everything. Because when you become the emotion, it controls you. When you observe the emotion, you create distance. And distance creates freedom. Imagine sitting beside a river. Leaves float past. You notice them, but you do not jump into the water and chase them. Thoughts can be treated the same way. Emotions can be treated the same way. Observe, notice, allow, then let them pass. Most emotional suffering comes from fighting emotions or obeying them. The Stoic does neither. He observes, and observation weakens emotional intensity. Because emotions feed on identification, they lose strength when viewed objectively. The exercise that terrified the Romans. There was a Stoic practice that many modern people would find uncomfortable. Yet, it became one of the most powerful tools for emotional resilience. Negative visualization. At first, it sounds pessimistic. It isn't. It is preparation. Seneca regularly imagined losing things he valued. Not because he wanted loss, because he wanted freedom. He imagined losing wealth, status, comfort, security, relationships, health. Why? Because attachment thrives on the illusion of permanence. We assume what we have today will remain tomorrow. Then reality shocks us. The Stoics chose to remove the illusion before reality did. By mentally preparing for change, they reduced fear. Decreases, emotional dependency decreases. Imagine appreciating someone you love, while fully understanding they are not guaranteed forever. Your appreciation deepens. Your entitlement disappears. Your presence increases. This is not morbid. It is gratitude. True gratitude requires awareness of impermanence. And awareness of impermanence creates emotional maturity. YPEOPLAPL struggle with detachment. Many people watching this have spent years trying to make others happy, keeping the peace, avoiding conflict, seeking approval, trying to be enough, trying to be liked, trying to avoid disappointing anyone. And eventually they become exhausted. Because people-pleasing creates a life built around external validation. The people-pleaser constantly asks, how do they feel about me? The Stoic asks, am I acting according to my values? One question creates dependency. The other creates freedom. People-pleasers often fear disapproval more than dishonesty. They hide opinions, suppress boundaries, ignore instincts, sacrifice authenticity, all for acceptance. But acceptance purchased through self-betrayal is extremely expensive. Eventually, the bill arrives, usually in the form of resentment, burnout, or emotional collapse. The Stoic alternative is simple. Respect others, but do not belong to them. Be kind, but do not become compliant. Be compassionate, but do not become controllable. Your peace should not require permission from others. The Stoic view of rejection. Most people fear rejection because they misunderstand it. They see rejection as proof of inadequacy, proof of failure, proof of unworthiness. The Stoics saw something different. Information. That is all. Information. A door closes. Information. Someone leaves. Information. An opportunity disappears. Information. The event itself does not define your value. It simply reveals reality. But attachment transforms rejection into identity. The attached mind says, they rejected me, therefore I am not enough. The Stoic says, this outcome did not occur. One interpretation creates suffering. The other creates clarity. Imagine how much emotional pain disappears when rejection stops becoming personal. Because most rejection is not a judgment of your worth. It is simply a mismatch of circumstances, preferences, timing, or priorities. Detachment allows you to see this. And once you see it, rejection loses much of its power. The discipline of letting people misunderstand you. This may be one of the hardest Stoic lessons. Allowing people to misunderstand you. Most people desperately want to correct every false impression, every rumor, every criticism, every misunderstanding. They chase clarity. They chase validation. They chase approval. But Stoics recognized an uncomfortable truth. You cannot control how others interpret you. No explanation guarantees understanding. No defense guarantees fairness. No amount of effort guarantees approval. At some point, you must release the need to manage everyone's perception. This is emotional detachment in action. Not because you stop caring about truth, because you stop depending on agreement. The moment you no longer need universal approval, an enormous psychological burden disappears. You become lighter, calmer, more focused, more free, because your energy returns to what actually belongs to you. Your actions, your choices, your character. The Stoic fortress. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly returned to a powerful image. The inner fortress. A place within the mind that remains untouched by external chaos. Think about how desperately modern people need this idea. Every headline demands attention. Every notification demands emotion. Every conflict demands reaction. Every opinion demands engagement. People live in a constant state of emotional invasion. The Stoics offered another possibility. Return inward, not as escape, as stability. Your peace cannot depend upon a peaceful world, because the world has never been peaceful. Your peace must come from something deeper. A stable center, a disciplined mind, a clear perspective, an inner fortress. When emotional detachment develops, you begin carrying this fortress everywhere. Criticism arrives. The fortress remains. Rejection arrives. The fortress remains. Loss arrives. The fortress remains. Not because you feel nothing, because your foundation exists deeper than circumstances. The daily question that builds emotional freedom. Every evening, ask yourself, what controlled my emotions today? Be honest. Was it praise? Criticism? Attention? Silence? Rejection? Approval? validation, fear? This question reveals attachments, and attachments reveal opportunities for growth. The goal is not perfection. The goal is awareness. Because what remains unconscious controls you. What becomes conscious can be transformed. Over time, patterns emerge. You begin seeing your emotional vulnerabilities. You begin seeing your dependencies. And once you see them clearly, their power begins to weaken. Awareness creates distance. Distance creates freedom. Freedom creates peace. The real meaning of detachment. By now, you may notice something important. Emotional detachment is not about caring less. It is about depending less. The detached person still loves, still dreams, still commits, still hopes, still feels, but they no longer build their identity upon things they cannot control. That is the difference. And that difference changes everything. Because the moment your happiness stops depending on outcomes, you become extraordinarily powerful. Not powerful over others. Powerful over yourself. And self-mastery is the highest form of power the Stoics knew. Open loop for part 4. But there is one final stage of Stoic emotional detachment. The stage most people never reach. The stage where criticism no longer controls you. Where rejection no longer terrifies you. Where manipulators lose their influence. Where peace remains intact, regardless of external circumstances. In part 4, we will explore what it truly means to become emotionally untouchable. Not cold, not distant, not disconnected, untouchable. The level of inner strength demonstrated by Marcus Aurelius during war, by Epictetus during slavery, and by Seneca in the face of death. And the final lesson may completely transform the way you see power for the rest of your life. Loss.